Well, hello. It's Velvet, and I made this video, Change the Root, Change the Fruit, to help you achieve great results in your life and body. You see, this journey is so much more than just about vanity and getting into that ideal dress size. It's about the person you must become in order to achieve your goals. That person can achieve anything because she has let go of emotional barriers, fears, doubts, and any walls in her life. Once you become that person, you will see other areas of your life improve, like your relationships, your finances, your career, and more. The first thing we must do is to take 100% responsibility for your life and body and decide to make a change. This is a simple decision you must make. Your life and circumstances do not have to be perfect, and you do not need lots of time and lots of money and an expensive celebrity trainer and chef like J-Lo. I meet so many who they feel, when they feel that they don't have the time and they don't have a lot of extra money and so on, they immediately throw up a wall. Well, I can't because I don't have that. Well, you don't have to have all that. There are steps you can take right now where you are, that could change your life and change your body. It will completely change your finances. And in this audio, we're going to discuss more about how your thoughts and emotions can be sabotaging your health and your weight loss goals. I'm sure you have heard other coaches speak of TAR, and that is thoughts equals actions equals results. Well, it is so true that your thoughts create your actions, which they then produce results. So in order to make any change in your life, which is the fruit, we must first start with the root, which is your thoughts. Although it is true that changing your body is 80% nutrition and 20% exercise, it is 150% mental. What has surfaced on the outside is a result of what's going on inside, in the thoughts and the emotions. I have seen many reasons why so many may have a struggle in their weight. The first is some people simply have unhealthy habits, like a sedentary lifestyle filled with highly processed foods. That is a result of the thinking. The second maybe is that some are working so hard to accomplish your goal, but with the wrong information. Believe it or not, that isn't uncommon. No one knows it all, and there's always more to learn. So when someone tells me, "Oh, I don't need any help there. I already know enough about that," I respond, unless you are God, there's always more that you can learn in a professional who knows more than you. I personally, as a health coach, don't even claim to know it all. And many don't realize that what they're doing, no matter how hard they work, will never produce long-term results or the results that they want. They may get some results, some average, mediocre results, but it won't truly get them where they want to be. An example of this is seeing so many on Facebook jump from one Facebook challenge to the next, like the push-up challenge this week or this month. The next month it's the sit-up challenge, and then it's one cleanse after another, and then it is one gimmick or gadget after another. They may not even be eating quite as healthy as they think. So again, it all goes back to what's going on in their head, their thinking. The third are those who are victims of their own emotions, which cause them to eat mindlessly and kill any consistent motivation. I can personally attest to how negative thoughts and emotions can sabotage your results, even when you want it so bad. this goes for any area of your life, but you can find yourself wanting to lose weight and get in shape and take a few steps forward, only to take those steps back and then some. You find that you keep repeating and recreating this pattern year after year. So that is why the health and fitness journey is first when it is 150% mental. Because as a health coach myself, I know so much more than the average, and have coached more than I can count to weight loss success. But believe it or not, there was a time while I was coaching others that I could not motivate myself due to negative emotions. My clients were seeing excellent results because I knew exactly what to teach them intellectually, but just could not get past my own self in my own life. This was a time in my life where we had gone through a financial crisis. I spent 14 years in the real estate industry as an agent and as a real estate investor. My husband and I had a 3-story, 6-bedroom house in an upscale Atlanta suburb. I drove a Jaguar, he drove a Range Rover. We had a lucrative we had a lucrative income-producing real estate portfolio valued in the millions, and we planned our family and had our daughter 7 years into our marriage when we felt established. When the recession hit in 2008, everything changed. The income went away. The portfolio was literally worth pennies in comparison to what we paid. I was stricken with emotions of guilt, sadness, shame, fear, regret, resentment, and so on. I felt extreme guilt for losing it all shortly after my daughter came into the world. By this time, she was about 2 years old. She came into the world after we had planned so well for her to be comfortable. We waited 7 years and strategically planned. I was emotionally eating and could not motivate myself to stick to my own plan, no matter how much I tried. I am the coach, and my clients were seeing great results based on my knowledge and coaching. But the confusion going on in my head killed my motivation and even made it extremely difficult to recover financially. I thought a new plan or working more hours was what I needed. Just like those out there, many ladies I meet, they feel that the newest Beachbody workout or maybe this new gadget or this new gimmick or this new cleanse is the answer. But I would take a few steps forward only to fall back again, just like, the ladies that I'm referring to. They jump on the newest bandwagon without exploring what's going on internally, and then they may see a couple of, a few results, and then they just end up falling right back. And it wasn't until I was coached myself, and the coach went right to the emotions and asked a few simple questions about my feelings. This was a business coach, and I expected business strategies, but he went straight emotions first. So much was revealed to me with this coaching. I realized that those feelings, and many from my childhood, made such an imprint in my thoughts and were producing negative results. I look back and I'm so thankful that I came out healthy. I had so much dis-ease going on internally, and it was a wonder it did not produce disease or premature aging. I realized that until the root was changed, the fruit will remain the same no matter how much I tried to water it. So that is why I wanted to combine some simple life coaching into this program, because it is so imperative to explore the heart and the soul in order to achieve positive results. Now, the first time I was asked similar questions by a coach, I was literally in tears. Bawling on the phone while I was speaking to him. I was so embarrassed. I apologized, but I never knew those emotions were there. Now, I want you to explore some emotions. I want you to explore those deep inner emotions. Negative emotions not only affect your body and income, but it could possibly affect, relationships. I once had a client message me after losing weight with me and changing her body and stated that I helped save her marriage. And, I definitely wasn't I wasn't expecting this because, this is the first time I had someone tell me that I helped them with their relationship. Her words were, Velvet, it wasn't him pushing me away, but it was me. I was so frustrated with my body that I pushed him away. Some of the clients have just simply an unhealthy relationship with food from just maybe their childhood experiences. I had a client with an extremely unhealthy relationship with food because her family, who meant well, she had a loving family, they use food to celebrate, they use food to punish, they use food to guilt trip, and they use food to emotionally eat. They celebrated with food by going out to eat, and they would bake cakes to celebrate. They punished with food like no dinner for you, or you don't get that cookie because you didn't do chores. They guilt tripped with food by making her clean her plate as a child when she wasn't hungry anymore and told her she was ungrateful when there were so many starving children in Africa. She also watched her mom emotionally eat. This client of mine as an adult now had very unhealthy relationships with food due to how she saw her family relate to food. I can go on and on with the stories that I've come across in my career. I've come across many, but now let's do some exploring, of your own. Let's explore what's going on in your head and in your heart. I want you to download the Emotional Awareness PDF that I uploaded into the group, and I want you to follow along. You can pause this audio as you need to while answering the questions. So the first question I want you to answer is there any sadness that you may be carrying around? So the first question is, I feel sad because, and you think about that. And I'm going to be transparent here, and I'm going to tell you some things about myself. I discovered that I had some sadness. I was sad because I felt we had planned so well. We sacrificed a lot in the beginning of our marriage. We didn't have the wedding. We didn't have the beautiful wedding with 200 guests. We did an all-inclusive and flew off to Jamaica so that we could buy our first cute little starter house. I was a young realtor, and I just had to own a house, and we lived on my husband's income the beginning of our marriage so that I could build my real estate business. We managed our money, invested, it tithed regularly to the church. We planned our family 7 years out. So I was really sad that even after all that, it fell apart. So now, your turn. Are you carrying any emotions of sadness that is not serving you? I want you to pause this audio, explore your thoughts, and write them down. And then just come on back for the next question. The second question, I want you to explore any emotions of fear. I feel afraid that ... I'm going to continue being transparent myself and tell you some more things about me. I discovered that I was carrying around fear. I was afraid that I would end up financially like my parents did in their middle and older ages. You see, my dad made great money as a longshoreman working on the Savannah docks, but badly mismanaged his income. Longshoremen made high 5 figures to low 6 figures. Now, this was back in the 80s, the 1980s now, with a high 5 figure or low 6 figure income. In the 80s, in a small town during a time when you could buy a really nice home for about $50,000. Gas prices were $1 or less per gallon. A good private primary school education for your kids was under $5,000 a year. I remember the private school that I went to, the first one that I went to was like $125 a month. The second one was about $250 per month. I mean, that's unheard of now. You can't even get daycare for that now. And a longshoreman's income would have provided an extremely good lifestyle back then. Heck, a high 5 figures, low 6 figures income would provide a very good lifestyle now here in Georgia. It would provide, during a much more expensive time in history, you could still get a really nice lifestyle. I saw the beautiful lifestyles of longshoreman families around town when I was a kid. I went to high school with the daughters of several longshoremen. Many of them were friends of mine, and I saw their lifestyles. But after earning a significant income for like 30 years in poor financial management, my dad was bankrupt by my senior year in high school and flat broke in his 50s, and he passed away at age 59, very disappointed, divorced, and buried in debt at the age of 59. My mom only had a 10th grade education. She had crippling low self-esteem due to a poor childhood. She had very low ambition and was always she was always a homemaker, and she never pursued anything academic or career. She rarely worked during my parents' 20-year marriage. And when they divorced, she was in her 40s, earning minimum wage and struggling to make ends meet. So for me, I had this deep-rooted emotion of fear of ending up like my parents, and I discovered that it was there, and it had really imprinted in my head and was wreaking havoc in my life, in my thoughts. This fear was making it extremely hard to recover from my financial setback. It was running rampant in my head on a daily basis, and it just was not serving me, but it was hurting me. So now I want you to explore your feelings. Are you carrying any emotions of fear that is not serving you? So I want you to pause this audio, and I want you to explore your thoughts and write them down. And you can come back, hit play again and come on back to me for the third question. The next question is shame and embarrassment. I feel ashamed or embarrassed by ... So in my exploration of shame and embarrassment, again, it sent me right back to my childhood. I worked so hard as an adult to provide a lifestyle my daughter could be proud of due to my childhood of shame and embarrassment. My dad, just like I told you before, my dad made excellent money, but he never managed it well. We never owned a home as a child because he kept his income tied up in his business ventures. In fact, not only did we never own a home per se, we never owned, but we also lived in unattractive neighborhoods and houses, in very unattractive houses. We didn't even live in an attractive rental. So, I grew up and had friends who, even if they didn't own a home, they still rented a nice home, or their parents rented a nice apartment. So, we didn't even have that. We always lived in just very unattractive communities. My dad's logic was to, keep the expenses really low, and when the business or businesses get off the ground, then and only then would we get the house in a nice neighborhood. So can you imagine how embarrassed I felt when I was dropped off at home by the parents of any of my classmates? I knew what they were thinking without them even saying one word. So as an adult, I was determined to give my daughter a home she did not have to be ashamed of. But my financial setback brought those old feelings back like a tidal wave. Those emotions of shame and embarrassment were not serving me, but it was negatively affecting my recovery. It was blocking any creativity, any innovation, any inspiration, and it just wasn't good for me at all. So now I want you to reach into your heart and soul, and I want you to explore, are you carrying any emotions of shame or embarrassment that's not serving you? You can pause this audio, write down your thoughts, your emotions, and come on back to me for the next question. So now let's discuss anger. Are you carrying around any feelings of anger? I really did have a great childhood. I'm going to continue being transparent. I really did have a great childhood. I had loving parents, but I never realized just how much the emotions of my childhood imprinted on me as an adult and was affecting my life, my body, and even my finances. So that just goes to show you, you don't have to have had a turbulent childhood or abusive parents or anything like that for, to be affected by your childhood. My dad, the primary breadwinner in our house, filed bankruptcy my senior year in high school. This is the year everyone was planning going off to school. Everyone was talking about going off to school. And, not only could I not go off to school, but my parents couldn't even afford the local community college, which was less expensive than the private high school I was attending. I remember being angry, having some anger, watching all my friends sweatlessly attend college, and I could only do one class at a time locally at community college because that was all I could afford to pay myself with my part-time jobs. This feeling of anger, again, it just all came rushing back in my adult years during my financial setback. I so feared putting my daughter in the same situation. And these emotions, again, they just were not serving me and were negatively affecting my recovery and my motivation, and it caused me to emotionally eat. So now I want you to ask yourself, are you carrying any emotions of anger that is not serving you? I want you to explore your heart and soul, pause the audio, explore your thoughts, write them down, and hit play again and come back to me for the next question. The next emotion that we're going to explore is guilt. I feel guilty because ... I felt guilt for losing it all shortly after my daughter was born. I felt like I brought her into my mess. This guilt was so strong in the center of my thoughts and emotions. This emotion of guilt was not serving me and negatively affecting my recovery. This emotion was killing my motivation, killing my innovation, killing my inspiration, killing creativity, and causing me to emotionally eat. So I want you to pause this audio, explore any negative emotions of guilt that you may be carrying around, and write it down. And I want you to, when you're done, just hit play and come on back to me for the final emotion. Now let's take a look at forgiveness. I forgive ... Although I never felt any anger towards my dad because I know he meant well. I never felt any anger towards my mom because I knew she had a bad childhood. My dad didn't go out and blow his money on booze and women. He was not abusive. He was a very loving dad that, even with his poor financial planning, still provided me with far more opportunities than my mom would have been had she had been a single mom. So when the coach told me to forgive him, I was taken back because I was like, I never blamed him. But I was still encouraged to forgive him and release and just realize that he was only doing the best he knew how. I agreed and forgave both my parents. They both did their best with what they had. You see, neither one of my parents even had a high school diploma. My mom had extremely low, crippling low self-esteem due to her troubled childhood. It affected her entire life. She's in her 60s now at the recording of this video, and she's still plagued by low self-esteem from her childhood. Although my dad was never diagnosed, I strongly believe my dad was ADHD. And that was probably why he was so all over the place with his finances, and he was just so careless and reckless with his money. He simply could not focus, on top of, not really having the education. My dad did not finish high school. My daughter was diagnosed with ADHD at the age of 10. Now that I know the symptoms and know that it is hereditary, I strongly believe that was my dad's problem. He just didn't know any better. My daughter at least has the help she needs now. So I released and forgave the both of them. And you won't believe just how much of a burden and cloud that took off my shoulders. I also forgave myself. I did everything I was supposed to do, and life just happened. But it could have been so much worse, and I just realized that it was not my fault at all. So now I want you to explore your emotions. Is there anyone you need to forgive? Do you need to forgive yourself for anything? Even if you or another person was dead wrong, I encourage you to forgive and release. Forgiving another don't necessarily mean you have to become buddies and invite them over for dinner, but you are simply releasing emotions that do not serve you. Those negative emotions will block any motivation, inspiration, innovation, creativity, positive relationships that may be trying to come your way. It will block financial blessings that are trying to come your way. It will block the progress that you're trying to achieve in your physical body, your fitness level, your just whatever you're trying to accomplish in your body. So I want you to pause this audio, explore your thoughts, write them down, and come back for our final affirmation. So now that you have identified these emotions, I want you to ask yourself how they are serving you. Is it worth holding on to them? Now that you are aware, I want you to make a decision to make a change and release these emotions. Now I want you to sit up straight, breathe in and out. So now are you there? Are you sitting up straight? Inhaling, exhale. And I want you to repeat after me. I release the negativity in my heart and soul. I realized that I have no reason to feel guilt, shame, sadness, or embarrassment for being human and having human experiences. I was just experiencing life. I release these emotions that are not serving me. God did not design me to carry these emotions or any dis-ease in my body, mind, and spirit. So I'm letting them go.